What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Bit of Footy YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be running through my tip and previewing the 2024 AFL Grand Final between the Sydney Swans and the Brisbane Lions. How good is it? It's Grand Final week. You can feel it in the air. It is an interstate Grand Final, but I don't really care. I don't really get that narrative that Victorians care. That it is an interstate Grand Final. I really couldn't care less. It's, two of the best teams this season facing off against each other in a Grand Final. It just should be a ripping game. I'm actually very excited to see how this game turns out. So I'll be sharing my tip and previewing this year's Grand Final. First of all, we're going to have a look and see how I did last week in the preliminary final weekend. Last week in the preliminary final weekend, I did very well. I got both tips correct, as you can see on the screen right now. I got the Sydney tip correct, and I got the Brisbane tip correct as well. So that was very handy from myself, considering that I've been pretty average this year tipping wise. But yeah, after getting 2 out of 2 tips correct last week, I'm currently in 22nd spot in my own tipping competition, and I'm on a total points tally of 127 points in total. In first spot, we do have Geordie Pluto. Geordie Pluto got 1 out of 2 tips correct last week and is currently on 141 points in total. Now in second place, the second place person on the leaderboard has 139 points in total. So I would like to congratulate Geordie Pluto on winning my tipping competition this year. He can't lose it from here, even if he gets the grand final tip incorrect. He's already wrapped it up. So fair play to you, Geordie. Geordie, I'll be sending you a prize when I can. But yeah, fair play to you, Geordie, on winning my competition, my tipping competition this year. But yeah, let's not waste any more time. Let's preview and take a look at my tip for the 2024 AFL Grand Final. All right, here we are. It is the 2024 AFL Grand Final between the Sydney Swans and the Brisbane Lions. The Sydney Swans, they're coming off a 36-point win over the Port Adelaide Footy Club in their preliminary final. And the Brisbane Lions, they're coming off a 10-point win over the Geelong Cats at the MCG in their preliminary final. Yeah, the Sydney Swans, they had a pretty good preliminary final game. They pretty much dominated that game against the Power throughout the entire game. Port Adelaide, they did have their patches where they looked pretty decent, but besides that, it was just pretty much all the Sydney Swans in that game. Once they had the lead at quarter time, which they really do, I think we all knew that the Swans were going to win that game, and they did by a margin of 36 points. Like I said before, the Lions, they had a bit of a different preliminary final experience. They got up by a margin of 10 points over the Cats in a very close game. I was there with Ethan. It was a very enjoyable game to be at. The Lions, they started very well. The Cats came back and led at half time. Then the Lions had the lead by a margin of 2 points. 2 points at 3/4 time, and then the Cats, well, they came back in the last quarter. They had the lead at one stage, but then the Lions, thanks to the likes of Calamachi and Cam Rayner, kicked the final 2 goals of the game and got the win by a margin of 10 points over the Cats. Heading into this game, the Sydney Swans, out of their last 5 games, have won all of their last 5 games, with, like I said before, their most recent victory being against Port Adelaide by a margin of 36 points. The Brisbane Lions, out of their last 5 games, have won 4 out of their last 5 games, but they have won 4 in a row out of their last 5 games. And so, yeah, they're going to be coming into this game with a lot of confidence. Their last loss, the Brisbane Lions, was actually to the hands of my Pies by a margin of 1 point. Besides that, they've been pretty good heading into this grand final. So, yeah, both teams are coming in to this game off the back of winning form. But, yeah, it should be a ripping grand final, this one. The last time that these two teams played each other, it was a 2-point win to the hands of the Lions. And if we can get this graphic up on the screen, the last 5 results that have happened between these two sides, the Lions have picked up 4 wins, and the Swans have only picked up 1 win out of the last 5 games that these two have played against each other. As you can see, the most recent game that these two have played against each other, like I said before, the Lions got up by a margin of 2 points. Then before that, the Lions got up by a margin of 16 points. The game before that, the Lions won 113-89. The game before that was the last time that Sydney beat Brisbane, and that was back in 2021 when Sydney won 125-94. But then the game before that was round 17 in 2020, where the Lions got up against the Swans by a margin of 32 points. So if that's anything to tell you, I reckon the Lions have a chance at winning this game. And it really just says that the Lions do fancy themselves against the Swans, no matter the occasion. And what an occasion it would be if they were to get up in this game, winning the 2024 AFL Grand Final. Here is my tip for the 2024 AFL Grand Final. I do think that the Lions are going to continue on their winning form and win the last game of this entire season. I do think the Brisbane Lions, will be the premiers of this year. I have tipped the Lions in a close one. I do think it's going to be a very close one. If we're going off the last time that these two teams played each other, it should be a very close one. I'm going to be tipping the Lions in this year's grand final by a margin of 3 points only. That's how close I think it will be in this year's grand final. For my Norm Smith medalist prediction, I think it's very open. I think it is very open, but because I've tipped the Lions to win, it's obviously going to be a Lions player. Now, you can go with a lot of people for the Norm Smith medal this season. You can go the Heenies, the Gouldens, the Dunkleys, the Neils, the Zorkos. But I think a lot of those players on grand final day will be put under the microscope, will be, heavily tagged, will have a lot of attention on them, is what I'm trying to say. And therefore, I feel like a player like Hugh McCluggage could have a very influential game. I think Hugh McCluggage is a big chance at winning this year's Norm Smith medal. He's a fantastic player, and I don't feel like a lot of attention will go on to Hugh McCluggage. So I think he's going to have a few very good touches, influential touches, and he may bob up for a goal or two. He did bob up for a goal last weekend against the Cats. And yeah, he was very good. He's been very good all season. So yeah, I do think Hugh McCluggage is a very, very good shout for this year's Norm Smith medal. So I am tipping Hugh McCluggage to win this year's Norm Smith medal, assuming Brisbane do win the 2024 AFL Grand Final. And my last tip for this year's 2024 AFL Grand Final will be my prediction for the first goal scorer. I do think it's going to be a Brisbane Lions player. I do think a Lions player will kick the first goal to really just set the tone for the Lions this game. And I do think that Zach Bailey will kick the first goal of this year's 2024 AFL Grand Final. He's really been good in this year's final series. He's bobbed up for a few goals in every finals game so far. He kicked one against against the Blues, he kicked 1 against the Giants, and then he bobbed up for 2 against the Cats and had a very decent game against the Cats last weekend in that preliminary final. And I feel like he's going to shine on this big stage. He kicked one of the best goals last year in last year's grand final, and I feel like he's going to be ready for this year's grand final and kick a very good goal to kick off the 2024 AFL Grand Final. So I'm tipping Zach Bailey to kick the first goal of the 2024 AFL Grand Final. But yeah, those are my tips done and dusted for this year's 2024 AFL Grand Final. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Leave your tips and predictions below for who you think's going to win this year's granny, the first goal scorer, and the Norm Smith medalist. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Enjoy the 2024 Grand Final. Hopefully it's a ripper. Hopefully it's a close one as well. And yeah, I'll see you guys in another video very soon. Cheers.